So, good morning, good evening, or good night, depending where you are. I am Patricia Furtado de Mendonça, the founder and CEO of Aqua Mater, and currently a consultant for the UN Global Compact Brazil and a member of the steering committee of Ocean Literacy with All, an endorsed program of the Ocean Decade that is coordinated by IOC UNESCO. And this Ocean Dialogue is hosted by Aqua Mater in partnership with IOC UNESCO through Ocean Literacy with All. And we would like to welcome you all, thanking all the speakers and moderators who accepted to share their time and thoughts with us, and everyone who is following us online, including participants from another Ocean Dialogue that is taking place these days, titled The Future of Marine Spatial Planning, as this event, our Ocean Dialogue, was incorporated in their program because they are exploring how ocean literacy and maritime mentality or mindset can assist all processes involved in marine or maritime spatial planning. But coming to this event, why did I decide to organize this Ocean Dialogue? Well, in December 2019, Francesca Santoro, who coordinates all ocean literacy initiatives for IOC UNESCO, invited me to Venice to participate in a workshop titled Ocean Literacy Professional Development for the Private Sector. And I came away from this workshop, seeing the potential that ocean literacy has beyond its mission of shaping the leaders of tomorrow. I thought ocean literacy has the potential to shape today's leaders too. Ocean literacy is often defined as an understanding of your influence in the ocean and the ocean's influence on you. So I thought of kind of translating this concept into two questions, as if I could ask them to business leaders. So how does the ocean impact your business? And how does your business impact the ocean? And I set to myself a challenge to find a way to bring ocean literacy into the private sector. And this is what I am working on now. Next year, I will launch an international survey to evaluate the level of ocean knowledge held by companies across various sectors. And I also want to find out if they are aware of the direct and indirect relationship between the ocean and their business. In a later phase, the project will also be extended to the public sector. Many people outside our ocean bubble, those who don't attend ocean-focused events or conferences, they are often unaware of the ocean's relationship with climate change, biodiversity loss, issues with potable water supply, sanitation, and many other critical areas. They are not aware of how SDG 14 is linked to all the other SDGs, for example. And when I mention many people, I am also referring to decision makers in both the public and private sectors who don't work directly with maritime issues, but whose decisions can significantly impact the health and the sustainability of the ocean, or those whose businesses or territories can be impacted by the ocean, either positively or negatively, without being aware of it. Different industries within the ocean economy and even within the blue economy have various gaps in scientific knowledge about the ocean. And there are also many gaps in scientific knowledge about maritime ecosystems within governments that create policies related to the ocean, to the environment and climate. Ocean literacy provides tools to bridge these gaps, reveal these connections, drive behavior change, and lead to action. I am not suggesting here to present the same content used in blue schools, community festivals, or citizen science projects to these decision makers. Instead, I am proposing creating something new, like offering consulting, other training courses tailored to these audiences, connecting ocean science to their specific businesses and policies. And I also think that undergraduate courses that train marine educators should incorporate these themes and audiences. We often perceive the private sector merely as a sponsor of marine conservation or ocean literacy projects, just as we tend to see government only as an enabler of ocean literacy projects for schools in their territories. In other words, we tend to see the public and private sectors only as vehicles rather than also target audiences for our ocean literacy projects. And for all these reasons, I deeply believe that ocean literacy, in addition to shaping the leaders of tomorrow, can also engage with today's leaders to accelerate the 2030 agenda. And when I speak of decision makers and leaders, I am referring not only to high-level representatives from public and private organizations, but also to the younger individuals entering these environments, including interns who may become influential leaders in just a few years. And additionally, this includes analysts and specialists, for example, who make important decisions only on a daily basis within their roles. And this webinar, so after all that, aims to delve into these discussions so that together we can advance in the direction of a regenerated, healthy, and sustainable ocean, while simultaneously in the direction of blue education, blue policies, and blue businesses. And but what exactly is ocean literacy? And how does IOC UNESCO view the possibility of expanding ocean literacy beyond borders to reach new audiences? And how is it including both the public and private sectors in this effort? What do its recent publications say about it? And for this, I would like to invite to our virtual stage Francesca Santoro, who is the Senior Program Officer at IOC UNESCO. And she's the person who introduced me to the ocean literacy world, who connected me to amazing colleagues from various countries. Many of them are here now. And the person who invited me to participate on several of her projects and supported me in this movement that now is the focus of our ocean dialogue today. So Francesca, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you so much, and I'm really pleased to be here, to have the chance to talk to you all. I mean, in this panel we have a lot of friends and colleagues, and I see also among the participants a lot of known names, but I also see new names, and so I would like first of all to wish them welcome to this webinar. I would like, of course, to thank you, Patricia, for having taken the lead and decided to organize this webinar, which is contributing to the G20, so a very important event for us, and I would say overall in a process that we have started some years ago, as you mentioned. So as some of you might know and might remember, last June we hosted in Venice the Ocean Literacy World Conference. And one of the main outputs of the conference was the collective endorsement of a document that we call the Venice Declaration for Ocean Literacy in Action. And in its preamble, the Venice Declaration states that, and I'm reading, the ocean literacy movement has undergone a remarkable evolution. From its beginning as a school-based initiative to teach ocean science, it has blossomed into a vibrant global community that recognizes the ocean's vital importance for our future. This diverse network, spanning cultures, generations, and geographies, share a passion for the ocean and a commitment to respect it. In a promising shift, the movement is increasingly embracing the wisdom of indigenous and local communities and acknowledging the critical role of an ocean literate society. Through common purpose and close collaboration, this community is working tirelessly to restore humanity's relationship with the ocean. These efforts align with the goals of the Ocean Decade and will be instrumental in building a sustainable ocean economy that ensures environmental well-being and human prosperity for generations to come. As coordinator of the Ocean Literacy Program at the IOC, I have myself witnessed this evolution and change in the scope and objectives of the Ocean Literacy Program. Of course, there is no doubt that one of the main drivers for this greater recognition of the importance of ocean literacy is due to the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. Right now, ocean literacy is recognized as one of its pillars, and I would say even more, the enabling factor for its success. Since the very beginning and of its starts, the Ocean Decade has endorsed the Ocean Literacy with All program that was already mentioned by Patricia, that I coordinate and I implement with many of the colleagues who will speak after me. The program over the last 4 years, a little bit less than 4 years, has achieved many remarkable results, including the organization of 5 ocean literacy dialogues editions, engaging more than 25,000 people across Portugal, Brazil, Canada, Tanzania, and Spain. And also now we host more than 28 projects from 17 countries. More recently, we have also launched the Decade Coordination Office on connecting people in the ocean, with the main objective of promoting a more equitable, just, and harmonious relationship between humans and the ocean. We've also established an IOC group of experts for ocean literacy, counting on 20 experts, and some of them are here as well, from all over the world, but most importantly, from many different backgrounds, including science, art, communication, and finance. In all of these initiatives and in all the projects that we implement at the IOC, we always try to promote the idea of a more inclusive ocean literacy framework where everyone can contribute and bring their ideas, expertise, and contributions. Even though I think we all agree that there is still a lot of work to be done to make sure that we all together promote ocean literacy initiatives that enable a wider community, I think we are already making some very good progress, in particular in developing initiatives that are helping people understanding that there are different ways of being, of knowing, and of sensing the world. At the same time, we are all aware of that the challenges ahead of us are enormous and that actions are urgent in order for our society to find ways to tackle them. I strongly believe that what the ocean literacy, especially in its current evolution, can offer is its capacity to open spaces for dialogues, where the solutions to those problems I was just mentioning before are not confined in the mainstream discourse, but where the importance of, for example, including cultures and emotion to leverage our current understanding of ways to achieve behavioral change towards ocean sustainability is highlighted. The UN Ocean Decade will continue to present many opportunities to advance ocean literacy from both research and grassroots perspective as a concept, tool, or practice that is relevant to all areas of human-ocean relations. In the blue paper, The Human Relationship with Our Ocean Planet, the authors frame human-ocean relations in terms of the multiple ways to value the ocean, namely biophysical, cultural and social, economic, health, holistic, and indigenous and local knowledge, all of which have complex connections to social well-being at the local to global scales. To continue designing and conducting meaningful, impactful ocean literacy initiative with the ultimate goal to enhance social well-being and to humanize the ocean narrative, it is crucial to take a critical approach to consider the who, the where, and the how. So allow me to provide 5 proposals for a critical ocean literacy to guide future research and projects. First of all, I know this is a discussion that is happening in many countries, in many areas, in many epistemologies. I think it's really important that we go through a reflection on the current definitions and principles of ocean literacy so that they can become more inclusive and that we can embrace different perspectives on ocean literacy. We also have to invite the active participation and discussion of all the stakeholders, and some of them were mentioned by you, Patricia, before, to co-practice ocean literacy. We also have to engage in meaningful long-term collaborations, considering mutual needs, goals, and impacts. We have, very importantly, and the more and more be attentive to do so, engage with unrepresented groups and people. And lastly, consider multiple forms of knowledge and values to embrace an holistic vision of ocean literacy. I'm fully aware, as I was mentioning before, that practitioners and scholars from all over the world, and especially from the global south, are indeed reflecting and offering new perspectives to enrich the current ocean literacy practices. We at the IOC are doing the same and very happy to join this wave of renovation. At the same time, I believe that moving towards sustainable, or rather a more harmonious, equitable, and just relation with the ocean requires broad and generous opportunities to join the ocean literacy conversation, to discuss what it means to be an ocean literate, and to design and deliver initiatives with and for all. The G20 leaders should as well recognize the importance of ocean literacy by supporting the creation of national and regional ocean literacy network, both institutionally and financially. A lot of what will happen on this planet ocean will depend on it. And now let me turn to one of the most amazing ocean literacy advocates, Ambassador Peter Thompson, who is the UN Secretary General Special Envoy for the Ocean, who very kindly sent us a video message. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the privilege of addressing you all by the way of this video message. When thinking about ocean literacy, I recall the old dictum that knowledge without action is wastefulness, and that action without knowledge is foolishness. The need for action is on everyone's lips in these times of extreme global warming. Indeed, the theme of next year's UN Ocean Conference is accelerating action and mobilizing all actors in support of SDG 14. But in our push for mitigating and adaptive action, let us not turn our backs on knowledge, robust, science-based knowledge. And because science is an evolving process, let us all agree that the place of education and literacy is absolutely fundamental to wise action. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Please listen carefully to the following quotation. As our understanding of marine ecosystems improves, so too does our awareness of the impact that our behavior has on the ocean's health. This interconnectedness underscores the critical role of ocean literacy in shaping a sustainable future and for the success of the UN Decade of Ocean Science. That quotation is taken from the Venice Declaration, and if you haven't read this seminal document, the organizers of today's dialogue can make it available to you. For an understanding of the global importance of ocean literacy, I commend the Venice Declaration to you and to the organizers of the UN Ocean Conference to be held in Nice, 9 to 13 June next year. Ladies and gentlemen, you may know the mantra, no healthy planet without a healthy ocean, and the ocean's health is currently measurably in decline. SDG 14 is central to our efforts to reverse that decline. As our agreed goal of conserving and only sustainably using the ocean's resources, SDG 14 is directly or indirectly related to all the SDGs. This makes it an essential element of societies and economies at large, not to mention a healthy planet on which life can thrive in all its forms. It's therefore logical we should expand ocean literacy beyond its initial borders, developing new content and reaching new audiences. To do the right thing in challenging times, we need to reach decision makers from the public and private sectors. We have to help them understand the connection between their professional activities and the ocean. Meanwhile, the ocean literacy movement is gaining momentum around the world, with so-called blue schools now operating in more than 40 countries. But we need governments to get on board with the implementation of the blue curriculum in their countries. And here it should be obvious that organizations like G20 and UNESCO have major roles to play in propagating that necessity. The triple planetary crisis of climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss is upon us. Thus, we're all called upon to contribute our positive actions as best we can. And ladies and gentlemen, in that great global response, we see ocean literacy emerging as a hugely powerful tool to promote the changes we need for the healthy ocean and healthy planet that we want. And I thank you for your attention.
Danny, sorry, you're
Hola,
mute.
ahora sí.
Great.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm here.
Yes.
Muy buen día a todos. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniela Gil. I'm founder of Amiguitos del Océano Foundation. We promote ocean literacy through educational projects and activities with children and young people from coastal communities in Ecuador. I'm also part member of the Ocean Literacy Group of Experts of IOC, and I'm very, very happy to be here moderating this panel, Ocean Literacy in Formal, Informal, and Non-Formal Education, engaging schools and society to regenerate our ocean. After such a powerful message from Peter Thompson, thank you so much. In this panel, we'll be joined by relevant representatives from international initiatives that embody formal education that is connected to the traditional educational system, as also non-formal education that involves organized activities outside the system, and also informal education that are unstructured and occurs naturally through experiences and interactions. We will also learn from more about the importance of restoring society's relationship with the ocean. So our first guest is Raquel Costa, researcher at the University of Lisbon. Welcome to our Ocean Dialogue. Raquel, you're now providing consultancy for IOC UNESCO on the Global Blue School Network, and you have developed the concept of blue schools in Portugal while working with the government. This program, initiated by the Portuguese Ministry of Economy, and promotes ocean literacy among children and young people in the school community, aiming to create more responsible generations that contribute to ocean sustainability. So Raquel, what is the importance of promoting blue schools globally? Do you think ocean literacy programs can be adapted in terms of language, content, so decision makers who are also working towards ocean sustainability and blue economy?
Hello to everyone. Hi, Daniela. Thank you so much for this presentation. And Patricia, thank you so much for the invitation to be here. So I will split the question in two parts. The first one, it's about the importance of promoting more blue schools globally. For me, it's a must. It's not a yes, because I'm now doing a research on the impact of the blue schools in Portugal, the first country who had blue schools. And I see that when we invest in projects with a long term, and we invest in education, we have a very good results. And it's not just add a cute and color touch to serious topics like blue economy, as I heard several times when I worked with with other stakeholders. It can become backbone for a long-term initiative to promote meaningful changes, and we need this long-term to have changes. So when I heard that everyone says that education is a key to a balanced society, yes, it's true, but we need that initiatives, all of these initiatives, with some support and funding. We need it. It's obvious. The beauty of the Blue School program, not only in Portugal but in several other countries, is how it builds a strong sense of engagement and a sense of community, not just with students and teachers, but also with their families and the local community. We saw this in several countries. When students get involved in the Blue Schools project, the ripple effects here are huge. We saw real changes in attitudes and behaviors, not only in the students, but in their families. And I also saw and observed changes in teacher. They become more confident when they work with us in the Blue Schools. And we usually we don't talk about the partners, but they are a key pillar in the Blue Schools. And partners are from public NGOs and private sectors. And I interviewed them for my PhD, and it's incredible the results I had, because they always talk about its positive impact in their organization and as well. And this is very important to us, to the community of ocean literacy. They often mention how the program connects them with youth passionate minds, and how this interaction inspire them and to commit more with ocean sustainability. So this collaboration between schools, between stakeholders and the broader community is where I think the magic really happens, turning abstract ideas in actions, and they work together. We have quite good examples, for example, in Canada, in South Africa, in Brazil, Angola, and in all the European Union, because in these countries, they recognize the importance of the Blue Schools. They invest in the Blue Schools, and the political leaders get that ocean literacy is critical to a sustainable future. However, in a global scale, we have a long way to go yet, but I think we will be able to deal with. So if you want a Blue School program to reach its full potential, I would like to ask the G20 to help us somehow. And we need decision makers around the world to see that without investing in education, we won't achieve the sustainability we want in the future. And the second part of the question is about adapting this type of programs for decision makers and other stakeholders. Yes, I believe it's absolutely right. Ocean literacy is crucial for everyone, especially for decision makers, business leaders, and other key players of industry, for example. In my previous work in Portugal, I realized how crucial is to adapt ocean literacy program to meet the needs of these leaders. We need to speak their language. We need to connect our ocean literacy initiatives with what they care about, and tie everything back to their goals in the blue economy. I think it's the key. I remember, it's a simple story. I remember we organized a one-day workshop that brought together people from the private sector, public NGOs, and teachers, all in the same room, and it was amazing. We mixed everyone up, and they work together on some challenges like what ocean literacy means, how to implement it, what the country needs to have this in mind, and what each sector could contribute. This happened just before we opened up funding for ocean literacy projects. And it was incredibly useful. Everyone from teachers to CEOs left this workshop with new ideas and a better understanding of how they could work together and better apply to the goal. So it really showed me how powerful it is when different sectors come together around a shared goal. So another topic for me, ocean literacy isn't just about making science easy to understand. It's about looking at the big picture. We need to connect science to social, economic, and cultural issues as well. Linking ocean literacy to sustainable development goals, it's essential as well. We can make programs more effective for leaders and for business people if we link all these dots. So make this happen. We can create, for example, targeted training programs, develop content that fits industrial goals, and set up workshops where leaders can talk directly with other sectors and other stakeholders. And that's it. Education is for everyone at all stages of life, since we born until the end. So ocean literacy should be part of ongoing learning, bringing people from different parts of the society together. This is the beauty of ocean literacy, that way we all learn more, it's more inclusive, and we make better decisions together. And I think it's all.
Thank you so much. Obrigada, Raquel,
Gracias.
for your valuable contributions. Now, I want to invite to the stage Ana Victoria Teresa, Program Specialist on Ocean Literacy at IOC UNESCO. So, Ana, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hello. Anna, you're one of the authors of a new Blue Curriculum Toolkit published on 2022, designed to support policymakers, curriculum developers, and also educational authorities for integrating ocean literacy into their national formal curriculum frameworks. So our question will be, what is the importance of this project, and what do you think that decision makers or how they can facilitate the implementation of blue curriculums in their regions could also engage in other ocean literacy initiatives, especially tailored for them, rather than just for schools? What could they gain from this?
Thank you, Daniela, for the question. I will start by telling a bit of the Blue Curriculum Initiative, and then I can reply all of your questions on the way. So the Blue Curriculum Initiative started with a toolkit. So we launched a toolkit in 2022. This material is mainly a guide. I can leave later also the link in the chat for all of you to access this material. It's mainly a guide with recommendations for policymakers that also work in educational settings. And it's a guide to empower as well the governments and curriculum developers on how ocean literacy can be part of those materials that later are part of the curriculum or the guidelines that the ministries deliver to the schools. In this toolkit, we included very hands-on exercises as well for policymakers, so they can understand their scenario and also how their country could benefit from ocean literacy as well, but also how they could adapt their existing policies, for example, for ocean literacy. And we have good practices from Canada, Portugal, Costa Rica, Kenya described in this material. It is also one material that was mentioned during the One Ocean Summit in Brest that took place in 2022. Where UNESCO also promoted a call to support the incorporation of ocean education in the school curriculum by 2025 in all its 194 member states. So that's a big step as well to have this call. And the material is currently also translated to English, French, and Spanish on a way that is also more accessible to a big majority of countries. And the Blue Curriculum has as an ambition to support, of course, the inclusion of ocean literacy in school contents, but also support stakeholders to take more informed decisions regarding the ocean, and also regarding ocean literacy and formal education. But also it's a material that do not only talk with policymakers, but also prepare the next generation of blue professionals, because the youth that will be later receiving this content on the schools are the one that probably will be taking a career on oceanography, on biology, or even that will be the artists of the future and will address, for example, the ocean on their pieces. So it's important as well to recognize that the Blue Curriculum, it's an initiative that targets not only governments, but as well the students and the whole educational ecosystem, and it's way broader than that. It's also a material that aims to empower policymakers and the educational stakeholders to take informed decisions about the ocean. And in this material, we created a theory of change for ocean literacy, where we propose different ways in which ocean literacy can be considered. One of those ways in which ocean literacy can be considered is, of course, through knowledge and awareness, but it can be as well through nature connectedness activities. We know that for many schools across the world can be a big challenge to take students to a mangrove, to visit a coral reef, but it's important that they can have this access to those ecosystems, because this can also inspire them to better understand the discipline that was taught in the classroom. And as well, we have another axis on this theory of change for values and attitudes and competences. So we also tackle the behavior aspect that the students can gain from being in contact with a blue curriculum. And a government can as well map their national priorities. So they can, for example, one country that has as a priority to invest in blue growth for the next years. This blue curriculum of the country can be in contact with blue growth, can provide examples of marine professions, but also put students more in touch with the marine environment, or make more visits to research centers. Or a country that, for example, has a priority to protect intangible heritage can as well work with a blue curriculum aspect and promote, for example, fisheries techniques that are disappearing or in the curriculum. So there are many ways in which those metrics can be combined. There are endless possibilities, and each country will also decide on the way that this type of initiative can take place. We are seeing as well at the moment a very interesting approach with the Blue Schools Global Network. So we launched this year a Blue School Global Network. Raquel is also supporting us to manage the network with the many countries that are part. And the main goal of this network is also to support the countries to establish and sustain their national Blue Schools networks by offering technical and specialized advice. We also strengthen the collaboration, because there are many Blue Schools network across the world, but we are also creating this platform so they can exchange, they can exchange practices. They can talk between coordinators to coordinators. And is also a place for us as UNESCO also to collect the data to support annual reports and understand the numbers that are behind of this type of project and the impact it generates on the students. So we say today that also the Blue Schools are a path for a Blue curriculum. And it's also not about the numbers, but the impact it generates in every student, teacher, and school part of this community. Raquel just brought incredible examples. But we have at the moment 23 countries that are part of the network. Some are in a very initial stage, starting their Blue School network on a path for a Blue curriculum. Others are more advanced. So, for example, creating already the certifications for the schools, and it shows how different it can be for diverse contexts to implement a Blue curriculum and a Blue School initiative. And there are many diverse possibilities. So I would also recommend the country that is interested on this type of initiative to first study how to establish a national coordination of Blue School, and then also, of course, be in contact with us so we can support in the way that is possible. We see many different types of coordinations appearing now in the Blue School network. Some have schools as coordinators, others NGOs, others government. We see that when we have as well a government as part of the coordination, the project gain a lot of traction. So it's always important to have the political support in this sense. But it's a very interesting landscape for the Blue Schools and for the Blue curriculum. And it's quite ample because it's not only about education as well. So the schools can as well promote partnerships with the communities, partnerships with the local enterprises, and everyone can benefit of this type of initiative when we talk about Blue education.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ana Victoria. Really exchanging experiences is key to understand what's the scope of ocean literacy. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
Now I would like to give the floor to Shweta Naik. She's Executive Director of Jane Goodall Institute India and also member of the Ocean Literacy Group of Experts of IOC UNESCO. Hello, Shweta, how are you? So you have been promoting ocean literacy educational initiatives in non-formal and informal contexts through beach cleanups in Tanzania, through Oceans Are Us, which is the project you are leading for the Jane Goodall Institute in India, and now through ocean literacy dialogues that will take place in Mumbai in November. Congratulations. So, Shweta, what are the key outcomes and benefits of promoting ocean literacy initiatives beyond formal education, and how do these activities impact the diverse audiences they reach? We cannot hear you. You have to take off your mute. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you, Danielia, and big thanks to Patricia. I come from a country where blue economy is more popular and a known term than ocean literacy, or rather, I would say blue curriculum and blue schools. Thus, I feel there is a huge opportunity for ocean literacy with all. And Venice Declaration clearly gives us so much clarity and also a commitment to respect our ocean. According to ocean literacy with all, and what we had with Venice Declaration, the welfare of mankind and welfare of ocean is inseparable. Hence, we cannot afford to address concepts of ocean literacy only to those enrolled in formal education, especially in a country like India, that would leave our thousands of children and youth out of the conversation. In any case, over the last few years, as our understanding of the ocean and its impact grows, the need is for an immediate awareness at all levels of society. We cannot wait for action by next generation that comes out of the formal education system, though we really feel that there is a lot of need for setting up the formal education system, which includes blue curriculum. Bringing diverse groups into the conversation also harnesses diverse knowledge and solution that adds to the growing research on the ocean and open new and multidisciplinary solutions to ocean conservation. Finally, the ocean is one. Oceans are us. It belongs to all of Earth's creatures and all nations. Extending it out of formal education makes it a more broad-based, inclusive initiative rather the top-down approach of formal education. So I feel that it's really important that we include all sections of the society into this conversation and involve them for the more immediate action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheta. Namaste. Now I want to give the floor to Diz Ditero. She is the Executive Director of the Canadian Ocean Literacy Coalition and also co-chair with Nicola Bridge of the United Nations Ocean Decade Vision 2030 for the Challenge 10 white paper. So Diz, welcome. This Challenge 10 white paper aims to restore society relationship with the ocean. Besides that, it recognizes the ocean literacy as a central to implement or to operate Challenge 10 and identifies policymakers and also industry and businesses as two key sectors that should support pro-ocean behavior. So consider the goals of Challenge 10. What specific ocean literacy initiatives should be designed for policymakers and corporate leaders across various sectors to enhance their decision-making responsibilities toward ocean sustainability? How could this initiative positively impact ocean health and sustainability? The floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Daniela, for your question and your welcome. And hello to my fellow panelists and to all participants in today's webinar. Thank you, Patricia, for this invitation. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with all of you. Before speaking on potential ocean literacy initiatives that are specific to policymakers and corporate leaders, I think it might be helpful to share a couple brief high-level context setting and key messages from the Ocean Decade Challenge 10 white paper and the importance of societal engagement in ocean health and sustainability. 4 years into the Ocean Decade, with hundreds of endorsed programs, projects, and activities across the globe, the purpose of the Vision 2030 white paper process was to collectively take stock of what's been done so far. And what does success look like in 2030? And not just from an aspirational perspective, but from a roll up your sleeves operational perspective. And then how do we get there together? The Challenge 10 white paper is one of the largest collective and collaborative papers and visioning processes to date in ocean literacy. It brought together over 600 people from 25 countries over a year-long process. And together we co-identified some key drivers, some measurable actions, and the progress indicators that would help us from now to 2030 look at the work that's being done. And this paper and process has directly informed the Venice Declaration that many of the speakers today have already referenced. Indeed, an important declaration and document. I think one of the white paper's biggest contributions, and now having a couple months to look back and reflect on its launch and presentation in Barcelona back in the spring, is that it really helped to position or reframe ocean literacy as a societal outcome, a society that better understands, values, and cares for the ocean. And positioning it as an outcome, it helps us really to understand that it's about increasing motivation, capability, or capacity, and opportunity for people across all sectors of society to make decisions and behave in ways that ensure a healthy ocean. It also, I think, for people who aren't within the ocean literacy world, it helped them to look at it slightly differently. And if we take for a tangible example, a national or international financial literacy strategies that exist in many places, it's very similar. The aim of those strategies is a society that has the understanding, skills, capacity, and access to make decisions and behave in ways that build and ensure financial resilience in a changing world. It's also similar to national and international human health and wellness strategies, with those aims of addressing problems that are human behavior driven and thus avoidable to save public funds and benefit society. And so when we think about ocean literacy that way as a societal outcome, it really helps, I think, to see that it's something that requires all sectors across all scales to really lean in. I think the other significant contribution of the white paper was getting the ocean sector, and in particularly the ocean science community, to recognize that much of the focus has been on problems in the ocean. So marine pollution, biodiversity loss, overfishing, acidification, what have you. And these problems, or ocean threats, as they're often referenced as, they're outcomes of human behavior. So the challenge we face is not an ocean problem, it's a people problem. It's not solely about the sustainable management of the ocean and the use of its resources. It's about decision makers and people across all sectors of society making decisions and managing our behaviors in ways that ensure a healthy ocean. Knowledge generation and data, it's not enough. Essential, but not enough. And so we know the science in terms of, what the problems are, and we work hard together on policy, but we're not effectively engaging society and creating the motivation and capability and opportunities to ensure we all act in ways that improve our collective ability to achieve positive outcomes. So for policymakers and industry leaders, as with much of society, there's a need for them to have experiences and opportunities that enable stronger understanding of and connection with the ocean to be fostered, to learn both intellectually and increasingly more emotionally that the value of the role of the ocean in human life, and to recognize that impact of their decisions on the functioning of the ocean, and to link the stewardship of fresh water and local waterways and community well-being to ocean health. It's a one water system. And so just in closing, two thoughts is we do need policymakers and industry leaders to recognize and collaborate on that social science and behavioral research piece so that we can together better understand how to engage a range of societal audiences to create that motivation and build that capacity to act. I think we also need corporate leaders engaging in the consumer base in ocean positive actions and campaigns to help drive that scale of societal transformation required to address the triple planetary crisis that Peter spoke about in his opening remarks. It's an all hands on deck effort, and certainly having opportunities like today that Patricia has created to expand the ocean literacy dialogues and conversations with new audiences in the public and private sector is essential. And I thank Patricia for her efforts and leadership on this behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sticking to people's problem and everything that you were talking about. Thank you so much, Liz. Please, you stay here with me because now I want to invite the other panelists to come back to our virtual stage so we can answer one last question regarding the recommendations for the G20 leaders and other stakeholders. Please, panelists, you will have 1 minute to answer. So we're starting with Raquel. Raquel, what recommendation can you give to G20 leaders regarding the importance of ocean literacy activities for people from all ages and sectors?
Okay, my answer is very pragmatic. So, in my opinion, G20 leaders must prioritize ocean literacy as a key component of sustainable development. I propose the creation of multi-sectorial task force to integrate ocean literacy into various industry, ensuring tailored training and policies that address specific challenges, such as blue economy or coastal tourism. It will depend on the country. So we should also mandate the integration of ocean literacy into corporate social responsibility initiatives, encouraging businesses to educate their employees and communities about ocean sustainability, for example. To further enhance ocean literacy, I recommend to establish the establishment of ocean literacy certification programs that recognize individuals and organizations committed to ocean-friendly practices, like a stamp. Finally, G20 nations should contribute to an annual, our annual ocean literacy impact report to track progress and refine strategies, ensuring continuous improvement and accountability. So invite them to work with us and now ask them funding. So this action could help a lot. That's all.
Thank you, Raquel. A great invitation for the stakeholders and these leaders. And now we're going to with Ana Victoria. What would you recommend? What would be your recommendation for these G20 leaders for implementing blue curriculums in their countries?
Well, the first recommendation, it's, of course, we have a toolkit about that, which is full of recommendations, but I will resume 5 that are also inside of this material. One of them is to map the current ocean literacy initiatives that exist in your country. So people that are working on the ground, NGOs that are already working with ocean literacy, research centers that are developing ocean literacy data collection or research. So understand who is doing this type of initiative locally. Then as well understand the trends in curriculum development, because today also the curriculum is not a very fixed or rigid structure. In many countries it has a whole school approach, it has flexibility. So also understanding what types of trends you could also complement by bringing a blue curriculum to this innovation in your curriculum perspective. And also thinking about the educational spaces, how they can become spaces that allow a blue curriculum to be discussed, but allow also a student to promote behavior changes in the classroom. Another recommendation would be to map the national priorities to understand how a blue curriculum can be mapped, can be connected to current policies, to current educational policies that you have already in place. It could be, for example, connected to well-being, to climate change, to infrastructure. There are many possibilities because each country has a different priority. Another one would be to consider the theory of change that we rewrote in our toolkit, but also consider the scope and sequence. That's a very important part on how the ocean can be presented, and ocean literacy can be presented to diverse targets of students, from very young students to high schools. And last, think about ocean literacy also beyond the classroom. I know that we are talking a lot about the blue curriculum, but also the blue schools, but ocean literacy is for society as a whole. And it's important to think that sometimes some sustainable behaviors are not fixed or are not implemented because our behavior in society is not sustainable or is not supporting some ocean literacy initiatives. So also thinking about the communities that are benefiting from ocean literacy is essential. And track progress and monitor the actions is as well important, because having as well the numbers of this type of initiative, it's good to understand in which way it's possible to progress or which way we are not achieving any type of results. So those would be my recommendations.
Thank you so much, Ana Victoria. Now we're going with Sheta. What recommendations would you offer to the G20 and other stakeholders for supporting non-formal and informal literacy initiatives in their countries? The floor is yours, Sheta.
I mean, I'm really inspired by the G20 in Brazil, that how fast it went from India last year, G20, and the conversation of ocean literacy is here in this G20. So for us, I would say of course, the blue curriculum is really important, but also put into place opportunities for all kinds of people to engage with the ocean. State-sponsored marine walks, a visitor center on the coast, actively promote marine exhibition in all public spaces. So opportunities for ocean literacy are all around us rather than confined to educational institutions. Second, which is very, very important and very close to my heart, is that many countries, they have huge coastal communities and they come with a lot of traditional knowledge. And what we are noticing is all that knowledge is just going away. So what we need from G20 is support research in documenting and archiving indigenous knowledge of traditional coastal communities and share it in public spaces. The sharing becomes part of ocean literacy with all. Implement research projects, engaging citizen scientists, especially in plastic alternatives and other ocean pollution. This will require citizens to actually engage in fieldwork and understand the impact of our human activities on the ocean. Last, our business communities, government, and other stakeholders should really incentivize that CSR activities, which is a corporate social responsibility in terms of promoting not only blue economy, but about blue education too. Thank you.
Great to hear you, Sheta. So now we're going with this. And what recommendations would you give to G20 leaders and decision makers from the public and private sector to support all these initiatives?
To join the ocean literacy community in co-designing, supporting, and participating in training opportunities, research, and community-centered experiences that strengthen our collective abilities to close the knowledge action gap. Thanks.
I love that invitation. These are very direct. And well, for me, it has been a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you so much to all the panelists and the audience. Now we will continue with the moderator of the second panel, Mermaid Diane Payne, who will introduce herself. The floor is yours, Diana. Have everybody a great day.
Gracias, Daniela. Gracias. My name is Diana Payne, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Connecticut and the education coordinator with Connecticut Sea Grant. I also serve as the chair of the Ocean Literacy Committee of the National Marine Educators Association in the United States. I'm a member of the steering committee of OLWA, which you've heard referenced several times today, and the co-chair of the group of experts for IOC UNESCO. I'm really excited to moderate this panel titled Empowering Public Sector Leaders, Ocean Literacy for Sustainable Blue Policymaking. This panel aims to explore how innovative ocean literacy activities can empower public sector leaders to integrate sustainable practices into their policies by deepening their understanding of the ocean's critical role in climate regulation, economic activities, and other key areas. And now I'd like to invite to our virtual stage Dr. Jacqueline Yuku, Senior Research Scientist and Research Coordinator at the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute, Chair of the African Ocean Decade Task Force, and member with me of the group of experts of IOC UNESCO. Welcome, Jacqueline. And besides enhancing ocean literacy in the Western Indian Ocean region and strengthening the contribution of ocean science to the blue economic growth, among many other activities, you're the National Coordinator for Marine Spatial Planning in Kenya. So my question for you is, do you believe that policymakers from government agencies and regulatory bodies involved in marine spatial planning could benefit from targeted ocean literacy initiatives designed specifically for them? And how might such initiatives help shape policies that balance ecological, economic, and social objectives in the use of marine space?
Thank you, Diana. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. I'm very happy to be here, speaking to you from Mombasa, Kenya, where we are involved as an institution in marine spatial planning. And to just respond to the question that has been posed to me by Diana, yes, I believe that policymakers from government agencies and regulatory bodies involved in MSP could benefit from very targeted ocean literacy initiatives. And I believe this because many of those that are in positions of influence and policy making are often found very far away from the ocean. For instance, I'm from a coastal city, Mombasa, where we're working on MSP issues, but my policymakers are found about 700 kilometers from me inland in a terrestrial environment. Often they do not understand the ocean and its impacts and its contribution to human life. And so it's really important that we begin to communicate ocean matters to them in issues that they're dealing with, sometimes drawing parallels to the terrestrial environment, because that is what they're familiar with. That may be something we need to do, just so that they're able to relate, because I think the key thing is relatability of the information. The other thing that I recognize is the fact that we need to begin to tell positive stories of the ocean. Because in Africa and maybe in other places of the world, the oceans are associated with loss, disease, and historical injustices. For many, oceans are a dark place. They'll tell you, our people went out and never came back, or our people were carried away and we don't know where they went. So it becomes a place that people really do not wish to explore. It becomes a place where there's a lack of understanding. There are lots of myths around it. And oceans, I think, in our culture sometimes are very dark. So I think we need to begin to advocate for a positive story that can go from ocean, those that engage with the ocean and its resources, upwards to policymakers, and also into society as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I think a lot of your comments tie very well back to some of the things that the previous speakers on the last panel were discussing, especially some things that Diz brought up. I know that you have to leave early, so we'll change the way that this particular panel works, and I'll ask you the last question now. What recommendation would you give to G20 leaders on integrating ocean literacy into marine spatial planning to enhance sustainable policymaking?
I think my recommendation would be very simple. Invest, invest, invest. I think 3 times, 100 times if we can. We need to magnify that. Because if we don't invest in communicating the ocean to policymakers and all stakeholders in ways that are relevant to them, then we do nothing. I'm looking at creative arts to communicate the science behind a lot of the work we do. I come from a science background, and many of us that are engaging in ocean literacy are transiting from pure science to looking at how humans and people engage with the science of the ocean. So to make it relevant, we need that investment in processes in the education sector. When I look at policy, I think beyond the investment, we also need to understand how to advocate and who to pull in as allies for the process. I think today we've seen Peter Thompson being a very strong ally. Vladimir has been leading us through IOC as a strong ally. And I think beyond investment, can they become allies for this process? Can they lend their voices to this process? Because when our leaders lend their voices to ocean matters, they take a life, they become alive. It's very easy with a good ally to provide the right messaging to get the positive story out there. So thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a pity I have to go, but I look forward to just listening further to the recording and understanding some of the things we can continue to share. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for your contribution, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite to our virtual stage Marina Scherer. Marina is a biologist with a PhD in marine sciences and a professor at the Federal University of Santa Catarina. in Brazil for the Integrated Coastal Zone Management and Marine Spatial Planning. Currently, she serves as the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Coordinator at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change in Brazil. Marina, you have a very extensive background, and I know that you are substituting in for Anna, but I'd like to pose this question to you. In your view, could public sector professionals involved in creating and implementing climate and ocean-related policies benefit from ocean literacy initiatives that are specifically designed for them? And how might such initiatives enhance their effectiveness in these roles? The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, good morning, afternoon, or night to everyone. And also I need to apologize for my voice and the occasional cough. Seems like a naughty cold has decided to join me today. But it's a pleasure to be here with you today to discuss a topic that's not only critical to our work, but also to the future of our ocean and coast. Thank you very much for the invitation. As ocean and coastal managers in Brazil, our challenge is huge. We are responsible for a great and diverse marine environment that plays a vital role in the economic, social, and environmental well-being of our nation. Brazil's coastline stretches over 10,000 kilometers, where about 55 million people live. Our ocean provides food, livelihoods, recreation, and climate regulation, among many other benefits. However, the pressures on these systems are immense, ranging from overfishing and pollution to climate change and habitat destruction. To manage these challenges effectively, we must be well-versed in the science that underpins our ocean's health. For ocean and coastal managers, this understanding is not just important, it's essential. Ocean literacy bridges the gap between scientific knowledge and policy implementation. That's why ocean literacy initiatives that are specifically designed for us is so important. As managers, our role is to translate complex scientific data into strategies that protect and sustain our marine and coastal environments. But this requires more than just an understanding of the science. It requires a deep appreciation of the ocean's role in our national identity, economy, and the global environment. In that matter, I would like to draw attention to scientific projects that have a component on science and policy integration. As an example among many, I could mention Mission Atlantic, a Horizon 2020 supported project. Mission Atlantic provides valuable information for managers like me, linking economic sectors, their pressures, and the impacts on ecological components. I will leave the link for the project in the chat in a minute. By enhancing our ocean literacy and putting a spotlight in the ocean, we are better equipped to engage with stakeholders, including policymakers, local communities, and economic sectors. We can advocate for evidence-based policies that balance economy development with environment conservation. We can also ensure that the voice of those most affected by coastal and ocean management, such as fishing communities and indigenous people, are heard and integrated in our decision-making process. In a country like Brazil, where coastal regions are increasingly vulnerable to climate change, impacts like sea level rise, coastal erosion, and extreme weather events, ocean knowledge becomes a tool for resilience. Understanding the ocean systems allows us to anticipate change and implement adaptive management strategies that protect both our natural resources and the communities that depend on them. For example, informed decisions on where and how to develop coastal infrastructures can reduce the risks associated with rising sea levels and storm surges. Similarly, knowledge of marine ecosystems can guide sustainable fishing practice. Despite the critical importance of this knowledge, I conducted across 13 coastal nations in Latin America, along with Portugal and Spain, led by the Ibero-American Integrated Coastal Management Network, showed a concerning trend. Among the 10 key components essential for effective ocean and coastal management that were studied, the lack of ongoing capacity building targets at managers was identified as a main challenge in all of these countries. In conclusion, ocean literacy and knowledge are essential to the work we do as ocean and coastal managers in Brazil. They empower us to make informed decisions, advocate for sustainable practice, and build resilient communities. It's our duty to ensure that ocean coastal areas are managed wisely, with the best available knowledge and a deep understanding of their importance. As we continue our work, we should commit to enhancing our ocean literacy and sharing this knowledge with others. By doing so, we can help secure a sustainable future for marine and coastal environments and the people who depend on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marinez. We'll call you back for the final question in a little while.
Thank you.
Right now, I'd like to call to the virtual stage Carmen dos Santos, Minister of Fisheries and Marine Resources from Angola. Alongside your role as Angola's Minister of Fisheries and Marine Resources, you have a robust academic background in ocean-related fields and have taught at several universities. Consistently engaged in educational activities, you also support the coordination of the Blue Schools Network in Angola, which focuses on developing future leaders committed to ocean protection and sustainability. The question for you is, do you believe that ocean literacy initiatives could benefit current leaders and decision makers from various ministries by enhancing their understanding of the ocean's connections to their sectors, such as health, commerce, water, and energy, and by providing them with better tools for responsible ocean protection? Carmen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Of course, absolutely. This question is very interesting. I would like to, first of all, to thank for being invited to participate in this this very, very good, excellent meeting about ocean, because the ocean is our passion. So it is essential for achieve global commitments. But first, for us, the national significant objectives, we took about that consideration. We have some issues. First of all, this is the enhance or grow up for understanding the of oceans about or from Angola side. We talk about nature. We talk about life, and we talk about some ecosystems who are very important for us. So, for example, we take the Blue Schools for introduce the knowledge about ocean. These Blue Schools start with the partnership with the UNESCO, and we try to get from the child the knowledge about ocean. Second, we need to make some connections, and these connections between the economy. We talk now about blue economy, but before and now also we made some connections between the commerce, for example, about value chains. For example, my concern from fisheries. But we have this interconnection about other policies, policies regarding maybe one. Now we take very compliments. We have the policies regarding marine special plane. So we take integrations about these policies. For that, we need to talk around the table about the ocean law knowledge. 30, we have a necessity for the better tools for conservation or for protection ecosystem. And we provide for that leaders for work within concerns about who they protect. We want the other people when they talk about ocean, when they talk about conservation or protection, the ecosystem or species, they know everything about their mothers, so they can manage it, these kind of conservation tools, if they know about knowledge oceans. So it is we promotion the innovations. The innovation, it is the key for we spread quickly this kind of knowledge. So we also work about global collaborations. So we made some kind of declaration. We following, of course, the declaration, international declarations, and we profit the collaboration in countries, bilateral, and with agencies between United Nations concerns. So it is important for us. We take so much benefits about the ocean knowledge.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. Innovations, collaborations, all excellent points that we certainly need to focus on. I'll call you back in just a few minutes, but at this time, I would like to welcome my friend Yoshi Sasaki to the virtual panel. Yoshi is professor in the Department of Marine Policy and Culture at Tokyo University and is president of the Asia Marine Educators Association. Yoshi, for many years, you have been deeply engaged in ocean literacy initiatives aimed at students, teachers, and communities. However, after your family was directly affected by the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami in March 2011, you worked extensively to help with the coastal community's reconstruction. So my question to you, sir, is how can marine educators and ocean literacy professionals collaborate with governments on disaster prevention and the reconstruction of coastal areas affected by extreme events? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Diana. And thank you very much inviting me to this conference, Patricia and all. Welcome to my presentation. And let's discuss about promote ocean literacy in the world. So my answer is that at first the conclusion, and after that my story talking. So answer is the marine educators and ocean literacy experts continue to work as volunteers in Japan. This is a great initiative and plays an important role in community development and resilience. However, it is not usually covered as a subject in school education, and there are no ocean literacy experts who can promote ocean citizenship. as a profession to the general public. The Japanese government and public have no opportunity to become interested. So I will tell you about my experience at tsunami and what happened to my family and community. More than 60 years ago, I was born and raised in the small fishing town 200 kilometers from Tokyo in the Tohoku region of northern Japan. I wanted to somehow rehabilitate the area through the ocean, so I became a teacher at a fisheries high school. I specialized in aquaculture and ecology. What I felt was, even though it was a fishing town, almost of the citizens were not interested in the ocean, or there was walls or thresholds that were too specialized for the general public to enter. A number of experts, such as fishermen, was also decreasing. So I felt the need to improve ocean's citizenship. In 2006, I left my family behind and moved to Tokyo University of Marine Science Technology to promote the ocean literacy. So after joining NMEA in August 2006, I established an ocean literacy education specialist training course at the university. This training course was designed to promote ocean citizenship through collaboration between the university and local community. At that time, the Great East Japan earthquake occurred in 2011, and cities and towns along the 200-kilometer coastline suffered great damage. The casualties exceeded 20,000. My family was also at risk. We lost our homes and narrowly escaped death. The Japanese government and most cities and towns had not conducted sufficient awareness-raising activities. This tsunami damage made me realize again the need to expand ocean citizenship through ocean literacy education. So feeling the need for international cooperation, I founded EMEA, Asia Marine Educators Association, in 2015. I continue to work on ocean literacy, human resource development, and ocean literacy education and research activities. That's all.
Thank you, Yoshi, for sharing that story. I know it was quite an experience, and I'm glad that you were able to find your family and continue forward because we really value your place in this community. Yoshi, I'll ask you to stay here with me, and I'll invite Marines and Carmen to turn their cameras back on for the final question. The last question is regarding recommendations for the G20 leaders and other stakeholders, and you'll each have 1 minute to answer. So Marines, I'll begin with you. What recommendation would you offer to the G20 leaders regarding the integration of ocean literacy into public policy development and implementation?
Thank you for the question. So I think G20 leaders should invest in communication and capacity building tailored for policymakers. It means to map national needs and design focused activities. And more than that, it is essential to ask managers how they want it to be delivered, because sometimes we provide a training or a communication that doesn't really get to the managers. In addition, encouraging international collaboration on ocean literacy and encouraging also exchange of good practice is a very good way to promote ocean literacy among managers. Let's talk among us. Let's discover how we can help each other and how we can learn from each other. This will for sure enhance our ability to address complex challenges like climate change. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Marinas. Carmen, question for
yes,
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think Marina take the flow for me, but I can. I totally agree. But I can say, of course, to reinforce it, we need to for the pass the message for the leaders G20 to integrate the ocean literacy in our education systems, to enhance the capacity building and the training programs, to make the policies integrated, this kind of because these was the policies was the baseline for the all people do the better things to do, and support the researchers and innovation based in international collaboration. This is urgent to do. This is very, very strong, some task very strong to do. And the least but not last, we need to pass the message about the engage the communities. Start in local communities, engagement for do the right things about ocean and about our necessities, but start to put together the international community, engagement of public and private sectors, engage the people, engage the people like the countries, the continents, and maybe we can stay in same stage all of us. So leaders from G20, we are here, we are people, we need to engage all of us. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful, Carmen. Thank you so much. Yoshi, what recommendations would you offer to the G20 and other stakeholders for supporting non-formal and informal ocean literacy initiatives in their countries? Oh, you're on mute, Yoshi.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So, my answer is the ocean literacy in promoting disaster prevention and coastal resilience is a very important topic. However, as I mentioned earlier, there are no ocean literacy experts who can play the role of coordinators who can promote ocean citizenship. Ocean literacy experts need to be trained and deployed. This is what I would like to ask the G20 to do. But I understand that it will be difficult for the government to take action immediately. Rather than waiting for instructions from the government, I decided to take action ourselves and establish the Tokyo University Marine Science Technology Ocean Town Community School, OTCS, a system in the coast of central Tokyo in 2023, and are conducting ocean literacy education activities in the region together with local residents, schools, private companies, and the local government. So we have already launched the ocean literacy training program in 2007, issuing about 30 certificates each year and conducting numerous ocean literacy education programs. I believe that the main purpose of the ocean literacy education is to foster ocean citizenship by improving each student's agency. I believe that it has been very successful in this regard. However, there are no positions for these people to become ocean literacy professionals. Therefore, we need to expand, improve OTCS, and ultimately create positions where they can work as professionals. This is what I would like to ask the G20 to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yoshi. Thank you to all of the panelists, panel 1 and panel 2. And I just want to commend you all for speaking in what is not your native tongue. I greatly appreciate how difficult it must be for all of you to do that. And at this point, I'd like to thank you all and turn the floor back over to Patricia, who will moderate the third panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pat, you're muted.
I think you're still muted, Patricia.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Very good.
Oh, something happened here. So I was saying thank you so much, Daniela and Diana, for moderating the two panels. Thank you all the speakers until now with such incredible contributions. And yes, Diana, it is so difficult for us that are not English native speakers to talk in this event. So Carmen and Yoshi specifically, thank you for your effort. Well, I'm moderating now the third panel. We are almost in the end. And the title of this panel now is Driving Corporate Sustainability, Ocean Literacy as a Catalyst for Change in Business Practices. This panel aims to investigate and demonstrate how integrating ocean literacy into corporate strategies can drive sustainability, innovation, and leadership in the blue economy. And now to start, I want to invite the dear Cynthia Barzuna, Ocean Action 2030 Director at the World Resource Institute. So can I see you, Cynthia? Are you there? Okay. Ocean Action 2030 is a coalition that supports countries participating in the high-level panel for ocean economy, the Ocean Panel, by helping them develop and implement sustainable ocean plans. These plans guide decision makers in both the public and private sectors in managing a nation's ocean managing a nation's ocean area under the national jurisdiction. Now, Cynthia, in your view, do many decision makers have gaps in their understanding of how various industries impact the ocean and how the ocean impacts their industries? And do you think that tailored ocean literacy initiatives help or could help bridge these gaps, particularly in terms of promoting ocean sustainability and supporting the economic and social development of their countries? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for this wonderful invitation and opportunity to be with great speakers today. Greetings, everyone. And to answer to your questions, yes, I do believe significant gaps exist in decision makers' understanding of the reciprocal relationship between various industries and the ocean. We need more inclusive processes. For instance, the tourism sector sometimes overlooks the impact of coastal development on marine ecosystems, while the energy sector may not fully consider the implications of offshore activities on oceans, on ocean health. Moreover, the ocean's role in supporting these industries by providing resources, regulating climate, and maintaining biodiversity is frequently underestimated. This lack of comprehension can lead to decisions that undermine long-term sustainability and economic growth. To address these gaps, it is essential that ocean management is informed by the best available science and knowledge, including indigenous and local knowledge, sometimes overlooked, and is aided by innovation and technology. The UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development offers a unique opportunity to enhance the scientific understanding of the ocean and build the necessary literacy and skills to inform decision-making. By integrating these insights, decision makers can better understand how ocean ecosystems work and how they respond to various stressors, leading to more sustainable practices across industries. A report commissioned by the High-Level Panel for a Sustainable Ocean Economy, Ocean Panel, as you mentioned, highlights the ocean-based climate change mitigation options offer substantial potential to align with the goals of the Paris Agreement. The analysis conducted finds the ambitious implementation of ocean-based solutions across sectors like renewable energy, transport, conservation, food, and carbon capture could close the emissions gap by up to 35% on the 1.5 degrees pathway. 35%. Key contributors to this reduction include halting the expansion of offshore oil and gas, increasing offshore wind deployment, and advancing sustainable marine practices. However, realizing these mitigation potentials requires robust financing, technological innovation, and global cooperation. The private sector plays a critical role in this process and must be actively involved from the outset. It is essential for private sector stakeholders to participate in the launch of such reports, to engage with the scientists before policy decisions are made. This would ensure more effective participatory processes, policy coherence, the establishment of clear guidelines that enable the private sector to make informed decisions and investments, and that are not only environmentally sound, but also economically viable and beneficial for society. Of course, based on the 3P mantra, for a sustainable ocean economy, we need effective protection, sustainable production, and equitable prosperity. This go hand in hand. It's a triple win for people, nature, and economy. For example, the 100% approach on sustainable ocean plans is a vital framework in this regard. Sustainable ocean plans provide this credible and holistic basis for safeguarding the long-term health and resilience of the ocean, attracting investment, creating jobs, benefiting coastal communities and national economies. By guiding the development and implementing SOPs, we can ensure that decision makers consider the interconnected challenges of ocean sustainability in a coordinated and comprehensive manner. Tailored ocean literacy, to your second question, are critical to support the work of countries that are right now working on their sustainable ocean plans and addressing these knowledge gaps. These initiatives should be designed with the specific needs and context of different industries in mind, ensuring that decision makers gain a comprehensive understanding of how their actions impact the ocean, and in turn, how ocean health affects their sector's viability. For example, in the fishery sector, enhanced ocean literacy could lead to better management practices that sustain fish stocks and support local economies, that could support small-scale fisheries. In the energy sector, a deeper understanding of the growing role of sustainable ocean energy can help align industry practices with our climate goals. Moreover, this initiative should emphasize the importance of accounting for the full value of ocean assets and the ocean economy. Current measurements of progress in the ocean economy is overly focused on production indicators, such as contributions to gross domestic product. A more comprehensive approach that could include the development and integration of ocean accounts into national accounts can provide, I think, a dynamic evidence based on to guide sustainable development and reflect the true value of the ocean economy. Effective ocean literacy programs should also incorporate the latest scientific research, of course, traditional knowledge, as I mentioned before, case studies, good, successful storytelling, integrating sustainability into industry practices, and enhancing and understanding also equips decision makers with practical tools and examples that they can apply in their work. In summary, bridging these knowledge gaps through tailored ocean literacy initiatives supported by holistic approach like 100% sustainable ocean management through sustainable ocean plans, for example, helps have informed responses, and the best available science and knowledge is essential for promoting this ocean sustainability and supporting economic and social development of countries by increasing ocean literacy among decision makers and integrating this knowledge within the framework of this holistic approach. We can foster more informed, sustainable practices that protect the ocean while driving economic growth as well. Over to you, Patricia.
Here I am. Cynthia, thank you so much for everything you brought now. So important things, my God, and of course, including indigenous knowledge and everything that we use not to call science, but it is. We know that it is. So going on now, I want to give the floor to Silvia Guzzini, to my dear Silvia, the program lead for the Ocean Action Agenda and Friends of Ocean Action at the World Economic Forum. Silvia, leading the ocean agendas at the World Economic Forum, you work towards the vision of a thriving and healthy ocean that supports social and economic needs, both now and in the future. One of the key impact areas of this vision is business and policy transformation. So I want to ask you, the World Economic Forum, I know it works closely with the private sector. How is the Ocean Action Agenda contributing to enhancing ocean knowledge and understanding? And then, do you believe that tailored ocean literacy initiatives for decision makers in both private and public sectors could accelerate improvements in ocean health and promote a sustainable and equitable economy? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Patricia, and good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. I'm really honored to be here today and share the screen with such expert and esteemed speakers. Ocean literacy is clearly a key topic, and I thank you, Patricia, the IOC, UNESCO colleagues, as well, all the experts and people that were involved in this ocean dialogue for bringing ocean literacy to the heart of the Ocean 20 process. I learned really a lot today, so I can say that you further convinced me also of the importance of ocean literacy and the need also for it to be expanded to accelerate changes and transitions in support of the ocean. I do believe also that the G20 particularly offers an important platform to achieve this, as it allows to reach new audiences and connect with the private sector as well, which we know very well plays a central role in accelerating the transition to a sustainable and equitable ocean economy. So I want to share with you a reflection that I had as I was preparing for this panel. Have you ever imagined that the ocean agenda could be prioritized by the G20? Not even 5 years ago, such a thought would cross my mind, and I can't see your reactions, but I'm pretty sure that many of you are shaking heads. I think this is astonishing if we consider how central the ocean is to the G20 and global economies, right? I see that it's really in the past 10 years that the ocean reached unprecedented attention on the global agenda. And we're really starting now to look at the opportunities that the ocean can bring rather than the challenges that it's facing. And even if the efforts to achieve this unprecedented elevation of the ocean to the global agenda were not called ocean literacy, I think they did include raising awareness, sharing knowledge, and educating different stakeholders about the ocean and its importance. Now, if we look at the private sector more specifically, I can certainly report that private sector partners of the World Economic Forum have shown growing interest in the ocean agenda in the past few years. And you may actually be surprised, but such interest is coming from a variety of sectors, whether they have materiality on the ocean or not. So we believe that it's crucial for ocean literacy initiatives not to only focus on ocean-based industries, but also target a wider range of industry sectors. And this is what we're trying to do at the Ocean Action Agenda at the Forum. We work daily, as you said, Patricia, on engaging businesses to bring them along the way by providing a multi-stakeholder platform to enhance their knowledge on key ocean issues and foster investments as well as collaborations. As the industry partners, we work with come from different sectors, as I said, but also may have different level of maturity in the way they're thinking about the ocean. We do focus on 3 different types of actions that they can take. The first one is large-scale transformation of business operations. The second one is invest in new ocean solutions. And the third one is invest directly in nature. And I have some examples of how we are supporting businesses on this. So for the number 1, large-scale transformation of business operation, We are working primarily with ocean-based industries, and in this context, we are currently engaging particularly the offshore wind and port sectors on their sector transition to accelerate this transition towards a sustainable and nature-positive economy. For action number 2, invest in new ocean solutions, we are working on accelerating ocean innovation. We have 2 initiatives, Uplink and the 1,000 Ocean Startups, that are curating a vast network of innovators that have new solutions ready to be scaled. And what we do is we build and curate these communities and also build opportunity for these innovators to connect with potential financiers that can unlock their wider impact. Third, last but not least, is investing directly in nature. For this, I have an example of the Mangrove Working Group, which is an initiative we run in collaboration with OneTree.org. And this initiative aims to bring together any interest corporate, so from different sectors that are not necessarily ocean-based industries, and other expert members to share knowledge and ensure continued learning on mangroves as well as other blue carbon ecosystems, connect with investment-ready projects as well as partner countries. So to conclude and answer your second question, Patricia, as well, we do know that no one can move the needle alone. Public and private sectors, they have different responsibilities and they need to work in the same direction. And as many other speakers today already said, I also do believe that tailored ocean literacy initiatives can accelerate change. And please allow me again to commend Brazil for building upon the leadership that India and Indonesia had in the past 3 years and taking the ocean agenda within the G20 to the next level by creating the Oceans 20 Engagement Group. The O20 offers a powerful platform to capitalize on the ongoing transition of many businesses towards a sustainable and nature-positive economy. And I do strongly believe that this is a step that contributes to ocean literacy and allows for a space within the G20 for knowledge sharing on why the ocean is so critical for us, for our economies, livelihoods, climates, and much more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Silva. And yes, we couldn't imagine that the ocean could gain all this space, but of course we could imagine because it deserves. So thank you so much. And yes, especially now during the G20 process at the Brazilian presidency. Now I want to invite to the stage, and Anna, I ask you to put both of them for a while together. I want to invite the dear Eric Gierski and Sturla Henriksen. Eric is the head of the UN Global Compact Ocean Stewardship Coalition, and Sturla is a special advisor for the ocean at the UN Global Compact as well. I want to say that both of you, Eric and Sturla, are at the forefront of all ocean-related initiatives developed by the UN Global Compact globally, and particularly through the Ocean Stewardship Coalition. You engage with high-level representatives from various industries, governments, universities, research institutes, giving conferences, moderating events, and participating at important meetings all over the world with different decision makers. Now I want to address the first question to Eric. Eric, do you observe any ocean-related knowledge gaps among high-level executives working in the blue economy and those involved in blue policies? And if so, what types of ocean literacy initiatives do you think could be developed to support their decision-making processes?
Thank you, Patricia, and good afternoon, everybody. Fantastic to be here. Great event. The UN Global Compact, as you know, is the biggest sustainability initiative in the world. We have 25,000 companies working with us all over the world, 70 local network offices, 700 staff. So, and that is because so many companies want to find common ground, common guidelines on what's sustainable and what's not. So Sturla and I, we're heading the ocean work there, working together with many of you online here. To address your question, I think it's really clear now for many business leaders that business is not business as usual. You have to understand the risk landscape you operate in, and you have to understand your impact on the world and the environment around you. And to do that properly and to translate this into economic risk factors for their investors and insurers, we need very clear principles, guidelines, standards, and regulations for the private sector. And I think this has been the main driving force for the Science-Based Target Initiative, the most successful initiative of so far, driven forward by UN Global Compact and partners here, because we need science-based standards. We need science-based targets and measures verified by a second-party opinion. So I think there is a real interest for business leaders to have more science to work with corporates. But also on that note, I think it's a very clear recognition that much of the knowledge about the ocean also lives within the companies. It's the companies that operate all these fantastic solutions we have, transporting goods on the sea, harvesting ocean energy, producing food, and so forth. Much of the funding, R&D, research and development, are really in the corporate sector. And I think we have to bridge this. I think the Decade of Ocean Science is a good beginning, but we need a much more embedded collaboration. And these G20 meetings, I think they're all calling for the same, more interaction between academia and operational business, and it needs to be translatable into governance and finance. So great inputs so far, and really looking forward to discussing this further as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eric. But thank you really, because we really need to engage more the private sector in these initiatives. And as I said, not only because of sponsoring, but they have a lot of studies, data, and we need to engage more through science, all these words together. And now I will invite Sturla, because I knew here because of technical issues you couldn't appear together. So now, Sturla, I'm addressing your question. So, do you think that ocean literacy initiatives could also foster a culture of ocean sustainability within companies outside the blue economy sectors, and how or why?
Thank you, Pat, for the invitation and also for the very generous introduction. And let me commend you and your fellow organizers for hosting this dialogue meeting. Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to all of you. I think that, I mean, a lot of very important thing has already been said by my fellow panelists, but let me have some observations and maybe start by putting sort of the issue or topic of ocean literacy into context, because 9 years ago, before the 17 SDGs were adopted in 2015, actually SDG 14, life below water, was a candidate to be deleted, because many delegations argued that there were too many already sustainable development goals, and SDG 14 was a prime candidate to be deleted from the process. Now, in 2018, when Eric and I were appointed to our current positions in the UNGC, I think it's fair to say that there was no specific focus on ocean, and nor were there any sort of specific resources dedicated to this work. So, and if at all, if ocean was part of the discussion, it was about preservation, conservation, and restoration. Of course, immensely important, but a necessary, not sufficient condition to tap the full potential of the ocean to contribute to all the 17 SDGs. So obviously we need to take much better care of the ocean, while concurrently also scaling up the sustainable use of the ocean. And today, 6 years later, as mentioned by Sylvia, for instance, we see that the ocean is really surging. It's not only the global sea level rising, it's also ocean surging on the international agenda in the most important forums, such as UN General Assembly Week coming up, the COP, and also G20, as we have also the big honor of being co-chair for that process. So I think that also now there's a growing recognition, for instance, that there will be no solution to any of the most important and pressing issues facing us today without the ocean, like, for instance, curbing global warming. And then to your question on whether ocean literacy initiatives could also foster a culture of ocean sustainability within companies outside of the blue economy sectors. And I do indeed believe so, not only because ocean literacy in and of itself is important, but also that for any company, ocean or land-based, claiming to be sustainably responsible, this is really an important part of it. This is for companies outside of the blue economy, ocean companies or ocean-based companies will represent both a huge competitive challenge going forward and also vast commercial opportunities for the land-based companies. And therefore, I believe that it's in the genuine self-interest of land-based terrestrial companies to watch closely what is happening with the ocean health and with the blue economy. And an aspect of that is, of course, that the growth of the blue economy is expected to outpace terrestrial GDP growth in the coming decades. So market opportunities will be bigger there than on land. And this is not least, as we know, due to the fact that production of food, feed, electricity, transportation, medicines, and maybe minerals from the ocean can be performed with less emissions to air, with a lighter environmental footprint and less risks of disruptions caused by droughts, flooding, or extreme weather events. And since by far the most countries around the world are littoral states, and almost half of the global population lives closer than 100 kilometers from the sea, ocean-based production is offering increasingly attractive alternatives. Think of food systems, for instance. Land-based agriculture and livestock represent one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gas. They require large tracts of land, often at the expense of pristine nature and local biodiversity. And they're also the largest consumers of increasingly scarce freshwater reserves. They are consuming some 70% of all freshwater used in the world today. And of course, we cannot continue feeding a growing world population in the same way going forward. And if I were a food producer, I would be very attentive to the competition from the ocean, but also from the opportunities arising from this. Think another example of the energy systems. Over the past few years, almost all new installed capacity for generation of electricity is from renewable sources, and a lot of this is from wind and solar farms on the shore, offshore, predominantly so far offshore wind. This is not necessarily in and of itself a great challenge to fossil fuel power plants as of today, but the next phase in the green transition will be to phase out these fossil fuels plants. And so we see now that traditionally land-based power producers now increasingly turning their attention to the ocean. And also, of course, production, distribution, and consumption of energy will be fundamentally altering and impacting both markets, companies, business models, and geopolitical conditions. Third one, transportation. It's a stated policy ambition of many countries to have a modal shift of short and medium range transportation from land to sea. One vessel in coastal traffic can substitute several hundred trucks. They are causing less emissions to air, less congestions and accidents in the traffic, less need for building and maintaining roads. And also, shipping is a backbone of the global economy, carrying 80% of global trade and goods and allowing countries all over the world to exploit their comparative advantages. So almost all land-based producers of goods, they are aligned to value chains, supply chains, which are to a large extent carried by vessels on the water. So they will have an intrinsic interest in a system with strong and global rules, notably the system under the IMO, of course, since all economic growth, distribution of food, energy, and prosperity will be hampered, undercut, and in danger if the ocean part of this system does not work properly. And then, lastly, but not least in our days, we see that ocean security is rapidly emerging as a pressing issue in a world where we have increasingly more tension, geopolitical tensions, and where we see now, for instance, attacks in the Red Sea. This is, of course, putting seafarers in harm's way, but it also means that ocean supply chains, they are disrupted, and now, as of now, some 2/3 of all vessels transiting between Asia and Europe are now deviated around Cape of Good Hope, which is taking out capacity from the world fleet and also pushing up freight costs. So for all these reasons, I think that if I had been working in a land-based or been a executive in a land-based non-ocean company, I would be very well advised to take a keen interest in what is happening in the ocean. What happens in the ocean will not stay in the ocean. What happens at sea will not stay at sea. So I think that it's a call to not only ocean-related companies to be aware of the need for a healthy ocean and a well-regulated ocean. It's also a call to land-based companies to do the same in their own genuine self-interest. Thank you.
That's it, Sturla. That's the point, because sometimes people think that ocean literacy or ocean knowledge can just fit for those working with the ocean, but we are all related to the ocean and all industries. And thank you so much for this systemic and holistic view on how concretely we will need to work much more with all industries and even inland. So if in the beginning SDG 14 was not much considered and it was almost out of the 2030 agenda, I'm sure that even after the ocean decade, because of all the reasons you brought, it will start to go up and up. So thank you so much. And now we have our last panelist, not our last speaker, but before I ask the second question for this panelist, I want to give the floor to my dear Vladimir Ryabinin, former Executive Secretary of IOC UNESCO. So Vladimir, as the former Executive Secretary of IOC UNESCO, you interacted with a wide range of leaders from the global north, the global south, directly and indirectly involved with marine industries and policies. And besides that, you have consistently being a strong advocate for ocean literacy initiatives, primarily focused on the education of children and youth, of course. But now, do you believe that ocean literacy initiatives could significantly help traditional marine economies transition to the blue economy by encouraging a greater focus on ocean sustainability? If specific activities, again, tailored for them, do you believe that? And if so, what advice would you offer to ocean educators on exploring this area?
Lovely. Many thanks, Patricia, for having me. I would like also to thank all people that spoke before me, and that was really, I think, very, very informative, and I think also very talented. So, I'm the last panelist, so I think I can capitalize on everything that people have said so far. But I would like also to take you back to the year 2018. That was the day when Francesca Santoro spoke at the Executive Council of IOC about the emerging field of ocean literacy. And during that time, we started to think, about the categories of people, decision makers, that would be our kind of target audiences. And at the time, we mostly thought about formal and informal educators, about media and press, about the governmental officials, including the United Nations, and also general public. And I think I myself started to work in that direction. And I remember my talk to the group of friends of Ocean and Seas and United Nations ambassadors. I spoke more than an hour, and I presented to them the very, very difficult situation that was happening in the ocean. And I think in the end, that actually educated them. And we had the success in 2017 in promoting and also getting the decision to proclaim the ocean decade by United Nations. So now your question about is the new category of potential stakeholders that should be targeted by the ocean literacy. That will be the business sector and how we can turn current economy into so-called blue economy or sustainable ocean economy. So my answer to this question, as far as I can judge, is definitely a yes. You know, when we started to develop the ocean decade, we thought of, I would say, quite technocratic things, quite, I would say, objective descriptions of the ocean, like clean, productive, resilient. But, you know, the whole situation changed when someone, and I really need to thank that person, but I don't know who the person is, that someone proposed to us inspiring and engaging ocean. That changed everything in the ocean decade and also changed me. I used to be a technocrat, and then I became much more kind of normal person, speaking to people, loving people, trying to convince people, trying to become friends with people. And I think this is what is also very important in terms of ocean literacy. Now, the question is, whether we need to embrace the ocean economy in the ocean literacy. My answer is yes, but I would like to say why. And I think Sturla, Eric, Sylvia, Cynthia, they all presented you good reasons already. But I would like also to add the following thing. In the, for example, the United Nations, we focus very much on the climate change. We focus very much on biodiversity. But what is the role of ocean economy in achieving the targets of those conventions? I think it's really crucial. The Global Compact is working on this. But you know what I think is really missing in this consortium of people who develop ocean economy is what Sturla presented: the precise understanding, holistic understanding of the role of the ocean, the risk associated with this, the future of the ocean, the tendencies. So I think this is definitely a challenge for ocean literacy. This is a new ocean literacy approach, and we only need to develop new approaches if the demands are different, and also approaches will be different. The approach to embracing ocean economy and ocean literacy should be different from the previous approaches, because it has to be focused on other things. And I would like also to say that to me, the focus on literacy in ocean management would be, I think, a very promising area. How to move forward on that? I think we have to co-design that approach with the best experts in the world, with educators. But the key element here is co-design. So, because, you know, our take-home message from the Ocean Decade is that only when we co-design the ocean science activities with the end user activities and work together, we become basically partners. And this really changes the situation. So answer is yes, but let's co-design it with the proper and engaged audiences. Thank you.
Vladimir, thank you so much for addressing that again, because that's why I said we cannot just take the content that is offered, for example, for schools or in community festivals. It's something completely new that still have to be created. So that's the key word you said, co-design. And as the decade fosters, it's really to do it together, because we have to take educators, but bring even the ocean knowledge, the data that companies are working on, the policies that are constructed, to put things together and then to understand what to be offered. That's why these kind of workshops or consultancies we don't know yet, they must be tailored specifically for these audiences. So thank you so much for what you said. And before concluding the panel, because we still have the closing remarks, but I just want to address very fast the question about the recommendations for Cynthia, Sylvia. Eric needed to go, but Sturla is still here representing the UN Global Compact, and Vladimir. So Vladimir, stay here with us, and I will ask the first question to Cynthia. Cynthia, what recommendation would you give to private sector decision makers in this framework?
Absolutely. I'm unable to turn on my video for some reason, but I'm hoping that you can hear me. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
We can, yeah.
Perfect. For some reason, I have no permission to turn on my video. So I'll just give you a quick reaction to the great comments that I have heard from previous speakers. And also, there you go. Thank you. So basically, we are all stakeholders of the ocean, and we tend to forget that. The ocean is the great connector. It is important for landlocked countries as important as it is for marine and coastal countries. And I think the road towards ratifying BBNJ has shown us that. I would say that what's most interesting, we just heard from UN Global Compact, 25,000 industries are engaged with UN Global Compact. The Global Economic Forum also has a very strong relationship with many of these companies in the private sector. And I do believe that what we tend to do is work in silos and forget to listen to the stakeholders. From my previous role, if you'll allow me, as Vice Minister of Water and Ocean Affairs from Costa Rica, every time that I met with the private sector, it was I always received the same reaction. Why do you call us at the last minute, or just for funding purposes? And why are we not invited to be part of the decision making and the conversation? So spaces like this, like today, could be more open to listening to the private sector and listening to what they have to say in terms of investment in innovation and technology. Coming from a developing country, I don't believe we could come up with that kind of investment in innovation and technology that is needed. So for that reason, it is very interesting to hear from them. I was in a tall ship, 190-year-old boat with Vladimir, and I learned from him in a Blue Watch at very late hours, in 1 hour more than I have learned through my career. So this type of interactions, and I'm a lawyer by training, so I'm part of the social science, but for some reason, social science is not considered in many cases as science. We need to incorporate policymakers. We need to incorporate the different stakeholders of the ocean, include the private sector, they include the scientists. But this communication has to work both ways. We need to learn from them, from everything that they have already covered. They invest in a lot of innovation and technology that is meant for other purposes, but that has been used for many other purposes, like climate indicators. So for private sector decision makers, the health of the ocean is not just an environmental issue, it's a business imperative, right? The long-term viability of many industries, from tourism to fisheries to shipping, depends on a healthy and sustainable ocean. Peter Thompson mentioned there is no wealthy ocean without a healthy ocean. So of course, and the 5 key areas that have been the focus of my work for the past 2 years is equity, health, wealth, knowledge, and finance. But I do believe that to cover these 5 areas, the common thread is, of course, knowledge. Without that baseline, there's not much we can do. We are always concerned, specifically because SDG 14 is the least funded of them all. We're always concerned about finance, and yes, we should remain concerned, but I feel like funding always follows when there's a good plan in place. So we need to create dynamic, constant processes that change with the reality. And I really love what Dis mentioned before in the panel before ours, managing behaviors. The ocean threats that are caused by us humans could become ocean opportunities if we effectively include society engagement in every level. So to answer to your question, I think finance, sustainable practices, innovation and technology, even improving account for the full value of the ocean, in order to harness ocean finance and everything that is needed, the first big step is to hear those voices and integrate those voices into the conversation and not preach the choir, so to speak, and always have the same group of people without engaging with policymakers, decision makers, private sector, indigenous communities, the traditional knowledge, everything into one big equation. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I know we are already out of time, but I would love to continue because the contributions, they are all so rich. And just to mention, you were saying that about the private sector. I used to repeat that in all panels, that educators or marine conservation project, we have to stop seeing the private sector as a bank just to sponsor the projects. They are partners that have also economic resources, but also scientific resources and management resources. And we have to see how to be more horizontal this way, and the same with the public sector. But it's not my time to speak. Now I want to give the floor to Sylvia and to ask her the question. Sylvia, in the framework of this panel, which recommendation would you address to the G20 leaders and or to stakeholders from the private sector?
Thanks so much, Patricia. I think my recommendation is very much in line with the latest comments from Cynthia and Vladimir, because I was thinking that the G20 leaders should acknowledge the importance of ocean literacy in their final joint declaration, of course, but also commit to explore opportunities for multi-stakeholder partnerships that are co-designed, as Vladimir underlined, with businesses who they have materiality impact on the ocean as well as not, and also making sure that such initiatives focus on educating businesses about their impact, but also on the opportunities that responsible and sustainable practices offer to improve and accelerate ocean health. I also learned a lot about existing initiatives on ocean literacy that are taking place in many countries, including G20 countries. So I do recommend that G20 countries get involved, support, and also help the expansion and amplification of such existing initiatives already. And then just wanted to mention that Peter Thompson, Ambassador Peter Thompson, mentioned the third UN conference that is taking place next June. And I do believe that this conference offers really an interesting opportunity for such initiatives to be underlined, to be launched. And so governments that are planning to showcase progress at UNESCO must remember that the private sector plays a critical role in accelerating the transition to a more sustainable and equitable ocean economy, and should work with the private sector to advance this. Thank you.
Perfect, Silva. And you were mentioning now the conference in Nice. And for example, this conference that was held in Venice in June, that resulted in the Venice Declaration. One of the goals, as Francesca said, is how we can address more ocean literacy inside the next UN Ocean Conference. So yes, we are working for that. So now I have Sturla. So Sturla, Eric had to go, so Sturla will represent even Eric in this question. Sturla, what recommendation could you provide to G20 leaders and C-level executives, taking into account the specific questions that I posed to you and to Eric?
So thank you, Pat. So I think I would start by reminding them that the ocean is humanity's largest global common. And I think, like Vladimir so eloquently put it, it requires a holistic approach. We need to tell the big story about the big ocean and get it out there, because the ocean is part of the solution to our most pressing challenges. And also, I believe that, firmly believe that the business sector must be part of the solution. we need to tap into the company's insights, investments, and innovations. So my ask to decision shapers, importantly, and makers in politics and business would be to take urgent actions to increase awareness and ocean literacy and explore the blue economy options related to the three main pillars of sustainability. One is the ocean is an intrinsic part of the climate, nature, biodiversity nexus. Without it, we won't be able to address this in a meaningful manner. Economic growth and prosperity. The blue economy must be part of this solution going forward. And as I mentioned, it's already predicted to grow significantly faster than the terrestrial GDP in the decades, not only years, but in the decades ahead. And then also, importantly, the ocean economy, the blue economy, is key to a more, and healthy oceans is also key to a more fair distribution of wealth, income, and opportunities, not least pertaining to the global south, and in particular to the opportunities for women and young people in these parts of the world. So in conclusion, I believe that we cannot navigate the most pressing challenges of our time without navigating the ocean. Thank you.
Patricia, unmute yourself.
Patricia.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sturla, for the last contributions are always excellent. And now I come back to Vladimir for the last recommendation of the panel. So Vladimir, what recommendation can you offer to different corporate leaders to promote ocean literacy initiatives, not only target, but co-designed for their own employees?
Thank you, Patricia. You know what I liked, there were so many things that I liked during this webinar, but actually it started with a great idea and came from you, Patricia. So the focus on impact of the ocean on private sector and the impact of private sector on the ocean could be the focus of the ocean literacy activity focused on the private sector. I would like also once again to reiterate the need for co-design. You know, I hate when bosses tell subordinates what to do because subordinates may know better. So co-design between the kind of the leaders and also subordinates, because you know ocean need to be treated on equal footing. And also I would like to say that ocean literacy and also science will make many decisions in the private sector, in the business, much more oriented towards sustainability, much more objective, because you know many decisions in the private sector are taken by leaders on very subjective basis. And also, if we focus on this, more of these decisions will be focused on common good. So once again, impact of the ocean on the private sector, impact of the private sector on the ocean is a great idea. It's yours idea, Patricia. Thank you.
Vladimir, thank you again so much. And just remember what I said in the beginning, that when I refer to decision makers, we tend to think of just the high level representatives. But for me, decision makers are everyone, even an intern, even those who are doing technical issues at any level, at some level, they can be influencers inside all the ecosystem of the business world or the governmental organization in which they are working. So yes, thank you for your last observation. As I said, I know we were late, but the panels are over, but not the ocean dialogue yet, because now, God, Rama, my dear, I don't know how you will give the closing remarks. So I want to introduce you. I'm very, very honored to invite to the stage the dear Kilaparti Hamakrishna, the Senior Advisor to the President and Director on Ocean and Climate Policy from Woods Hole Oceanographic Commission. And Rama has led a strategic planning at the Green Climate Fund, advised on key UN climate agreements, co-authored significant publications on climate finance, and had extensive academic and advisory experience in science, law, and international law. So Rama, I trust you, as I said, for you when I invited you, I think that you're the right person to comment on the 3 panels and on delivering the last recommendation from this ocean dialogue. So please, Rama, the floor is totally yours.
Patricia, thank you so much for inviting me and to have the opportunity to speak towards the end of this wonderful session that you have put together. It is a challenge, particularly coming after the comments of the previous panelists and the concluding remarks that they made and the recommendations that they have advanced. But nonetheless, I'll make an attempt and I'll try to be very brief. Patricia, with your permission, I would include in my comments what my recommendations to the G20 also are, so that we can save a little bit of time. So again, let me begin by offering my congratulations for both designing and carrying forward this very meaningful ocean dialogue. You have managed to bring together brilliant panelists from all parts of the world, all of who have offered a tremendous amount of thoughtful comments on not only about the importance, but also about how to talk about the ocean. We have in the past used the metaphor of planet Earth as a human body and what we need to do when it is sick. But what is clear is we have not paid particular attention to a major part of that body with the amount of focus that is needed. It is worth mentioning, though it is known to everyone on this call, on this webinar, that ocean covers 71% of the planet. The ocean's health has decreased over time. It is not only oil pollution, which captures major headlines when there is an accident, either of an oil tanker or an explosion of an offshore oil facility. Our plastics in the ocean, our heart-wrenching pictures of the dolphins, turtles, cotton, plastic waste discarded in the ocean, chemical pollution, impacts of climate warming, degradation of marine biodiversity, and countless other activities. Well, we're making progress. We are trying to deal with each and every one of them through the BBNJ agreement, the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdictions, the High Seas Treaty, and the wonderful decision, a unanimous advisory opinion of the International Tribunal on Law of the Sea that declared carbon dioxide as a marine pollutant, and the decision of the President of the General Assembly to host a heads of state and government meeting on September 25th, next month, in the United Nations on sea level rise, and lots of other activities. But given the pace of degradation, we need to be mindful of the fact that time is not on our side. It is important to mention that after the adoption of the Law of the Sea Convention more than 40 years ago, we have taken on including ocean in the curricular needs of the universities around the world. And we also have programs like the Sea Grant, pioneered in the United States, around the world as well. Obviously, all these are important, and the efforts of UNESCO, particularly in terms of the ocean literacy part of it, is particularly to be mentioned in this context. And the Venice Declaration that is referred to, they're all very important. But I would like to focus, because we are trying to address these issues to the G20, and if there is an entity in the world that can take on the role of a stewardship, in my humble opinion, it is G20. So what is it that we would want them to address? One of the things that is said time and again is that SDG 14, dealing with ocean, is the least funded of all the goals. At the outset, G20 should realize the importance of the ocean and invest significantly more resources to this. But one of the things that I'm trying to focus here on is how we need a targeted approach. I mean, we know so little about the ocean. Clearly, we need to know a lot more about it, but we need a targeted approach. And what do I mean by that? What should G20 do about it? Well, panelist after panelist spoke about the developing a knowledge base that is targeted to decision makers, and in the previous panel, the importance of private sector. And again, Patricia, I take your point about decision maker is not just the top tier decision maker, but everybody. But the decisions by the heads of state and government attending the G20 summit has a resonance, and that will then percolate down. And so, let's focus on that. We know a lot about small areas of the ocean, but we do not have a comprehensive knowledge of our ocean. For example, we do not even have a proper map of the ocean floor. It is oftentimes said that we know more about the dark side of the moon than about our own ocean. Because of the efforts of Nippon Foundation, UNESCO-IOC, and others, we managed to map maybe about a quarter of the ocean. We need to increase that and then get a full-scale knowledge of the ocean. We need to invest heavily on supporting science-based solutions. And without that, we cannot really know what works in terms of climate stabilization, marine protected areas, or conserving marine biodiversity, or removing the microplastics from the ocean, etc. But as we do that, because these are big issues where knowledge base in the community is so limited, oftentimes we neglect to include governance issues. And we need to have the G20 focus as they're focusing on science-based solutions on social, economic, and environmental aspects as well. And so I want to stop there, Patricia, but this has been a most useful conversation. And I hope that these recommendations will get to G20 and that they pay attention to them, and that we would be able to gain time that is so desperately needed in terms of addressing all these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rama, so much for your recommendations and your wrap up, because it's really not easy to put all these issues together. And just to get back to your point, yes, time is not in our side. And about decision makers, for me, it's like, yes, we have to include everyone, but of course, we have to focus in some of them to accelerate the 2030 agenda. So that's it. Listen, it's not in a program, but I feel that I cannot just close this webinar without inviting Francesca back, even for a few moments, just to comment on all that. Francesca, sorry, it's not in a program, but I would like to listen to you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I can only say that, of course, it was very useful, very insightful, very also provoking in some way webinar, and I think a lot of the things that we have to do were listed by the panelists. People mentioned, of course, the importance of co-design to engage with as many stakeholders and social actors as possible, to focus on formal, non-formal education. I think we are in a very special moment, and in a very exciting moment, as it was said before me, because the ocean has never been so central in the international agenda. So we need to seize this moment. We need to make sure that we also produce knowledge for sure, science-based knowledge, but also new knowledges, as I was saying before. And we acknowledge the existence of different ways of knowing and also feeling and sensing the ocean. I think that's also very important, especially if we want to get to behavioral change, as it was mentioned before as well. We all know that knowledge is not enough to drive behavioral change. So I believe that what we will have to do is really to expand even more. And this webinar already did a great job in bringing different perspective and expertise. But I believe we still, as I said in my opening remarks, there is still a lot of work to be done to expand even more the reach of the ocean literacy program, to include many more people, experiences, perception, perspectives. I truly believe that this is the way forward, and I think we all have the goodwill to do that. So I'm sure we will succeed, and I'm sure that you know, at the end of the ocean decade, we will have done a lot in terms of advancing not only in the Agenda 2030, but in overall what this blue planet needs to really thrive. Thank you so much.
Yes, Francesca, you got the, of course, you said the right thing now. This webinar was more focused on the private and public sectors, but of course we have to reach, as the UN phrase, we can leave no one behind. So, and we know that ocean literacy has the power, the potential to reach everyone from everywhere, and that's it. So, guys, I can just thank you so much. So thank you now, Roman, Francesca, for the conclusion. Thank you, each panelist, each moderator, for everything we brought. So I could just conclude this event thanking you all that are here, those who are following us, and just say that this is just the beginning of a conversation. And we will move on, we will gather, and we will co-design all that together. Thank you all so much. See you.